Hi, and welcome back to Gardog the Gamorrean Star Wars Miniatures tutorial videos. The primary way to win a game of Star Wars Miniatures is to defeat all characters in the enemy squad. To do that, you must attack them and inflict damage. In this video, we're going to look at which enemies you can attack. There are three very important, separate concepts that we need to understand which all work together to determine who we can attack. They are line of sight, cover, and legal targets. For a character to be able to attack an enemy, the attacking character must have what we call line of sight to that enemy. In other words, can the attacking character see that enemy? To determine if a character has line of sight to an enemy, you must be able to draw a straight line from anywhere within the square occupied by the attacking character to anywhere within the square occupied by the enemy, without crossing a wall or a closed door. Other characters, low objects, difficult terrain, pits, and open doors, do not prevent line of sight. Only walls and closed doors prevent line of sight. Here are some examples. And just to clarify, the line you draw between the two characters must start and end within the appropriate square. Line of sight can't run along a wall and the edge of the enemy's square. And it can't just be corner to corner either. The line you draw between the squares must start and end within the squares. In the examples we just looked at, we were only using characters that occupy a single square. Some characters occupy more than one square. Large characters, like the Destroyer Droid, Wampa, and Jabba the Hutt, occupy 4 squares, 2 by 2. And huge characters, such as an Acklay, Rancor, and ATST, occupy 9 squares, 3 by 3. To determine line of sight involving large or huge characters, you can draw a line from anywhere within any square occupied by the attacking character to anywhere within any square occupied by the enemy. Due to their size, you can see that it is a lot harder for a huge character to remain out of line of sight. Now that we understand line of sight, we now need to determine if the enemy has cover. With cover, we are trying to determine if the enemy character is partially hidden behind a wall, low objects, or other characters. This may well be the hardest part of the rules to fully understand, especially as in some ways, it seems to contradict what we just went through with line of sight. We need to make sure that we keep the checks for line of sight and cover separate, and not confuse them with each other. For an enemy to not have cover, you must be able to draw a straight line from any corner of the square occupied by the attacking character to every corner of the square occupied by the enemy without crossing a wall, a closed door, a low object, or another character. As well as drawing a line from the corner rather than from anywhere in the square. The other main difference from line of sight is that when determining cover, we can run the line along a wall and also through a corner without providing cover. Here are a couple of examples. And keep in mind that the attacking character can select which corner of their own square to use. If we were to use this corner, the Stormtrooper would have cover. But, by selecting this corner here, they don't. You just have to have at least one corner where a straight line can be drawn to every corner of the enemy's square without crossing a wall, low objects, or another character for your enemy to not have cover. Now that we've covered the basics of determining cover, there are a couple of extra things we must be aware of. An attacking character ignores low objects in their own square and any adjacent square when determining if the enemy has cover. In this example, if Han was attacking the Stormtrooper would have cover. But here, the Stormtrooper wouldn't. And in what may now seem like a contradiction, other characters provide cover no matter what square they occupy. It doesn't matter if they are allies of the attacking character or enemies, all other characters provide cover. In this example, we have Han attacking the Stormtrooper, and even though Chewbacca is in a square adjacent to Han, Chewie provides the Stormtrooper with cover. I also need to mention that if we are attacking a large or huge character, you must draw a line to the external corners of all squares occupied by the enemy. So, although it is easier to have line of sight to a large or huge character, it is more likely that they will have cover. When it comes time to see if the attack hits, which we will cover in my next video, any enemy who has cover gains a bonus of 4 to their defense score. And the last topic we need to cover in this video is legal targets. A character can only attack what we class as a legal target. For an enemy to be a legal target, we must satisfy a couple of separate requirements. Firstly, you can only attack enemy characters. You can't attack characters in your own squad. Second, the attacking character must have line of sight to the enemy. And lastly, if an enemy has cover, they must be the nearest, or equal nearest enemy. Let's look at this example where Han would like to attack. Chewbacca is not a legal target, because he is not an enemy. Han has line of sight to Darth Vader, the Stormtrooper and the Imperial officer, but he doesn't have line of sight to the Royal Guard, so it's not a legal target. Both the Stormtrooper and the Imperial officer have cover. But because the Imperial officer is not the nearest enemy, he's not a legal target. So Han's only legal targets are Darth Vader and the Stormtrooper. It's now up to the player controlling Han to decide which one he wants to attack. Now, let's look at a messier scenario. Han has line of sight to Darth Vader, the Imperial officer, Stormtrooper, Royal Guard and Snowtrooper. Both the Stormtrooper and the Snowtrooper have cover. The Imperial officer, Stormtrooper and Royal Guard are all equal distance away from Han. So, Darth Vader, the Imperial officer and Royal Guard are all legal targets because they are in line of sight and do not have cover. And even though the Stormtrooper has cover, it's equal nearest, so it's a legal target as well, but the Snowtrooper isn't. And just in case you are wondering, the direction a figure is facing doesn't affect which direction they can move or attack. Thanks for watching, and I hope you can join me for my next video on making an attack.